some business things happen, and I had to pivot, taking that last job and saying I'm gonna let go of the side of the pool and push off into this
Sure.
coaching and personal development world. And gone are the $75,000 and $100,000 deposit checks. I've had to reinvent myself, and I guess the overarching theme, Steve, is that I was never afraid to make a change. It's how I got where I'm at today.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Buckle up, because we've got a good one. You guys are about to meet my good friend, Bob Turner. Is it Bob or Robert? Is it officially Robert?
It's officially Robert. When I was a kid, it was Bobby. Now it's Bob.
Okay.
So all
Now we go
weekend,
with Bob.
Bobby,
Bob's the mature version of Bobby, we'll say.
Right.
But we have another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg, and this show is all about how we play at a high stakes at a mental level, who we've become over the years, the person, the actions we take, all of that stuff. And it's a matter of understanding that who you were is probably not going to get you to where you want to go today or where you want to go to the future. And so we have to change a lot of times our beliefs, our identities, our jobs, our careers, and we got to challenge ourselves on those things. So first of all, Bob, dude, thanks for coming, man. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. It's been fun to run with you lately. We had a great couple of days at the ground school, and I'm happy to be in the mix.
Yeah, cool. Tell everyone kind of what you do, just to kind of we can set the table here.
Yeah, sure. I had a contracting remodeling business for 20 years. And I started back with my dad. We both started at the same time together in 05, end of 04, 05, and had a good run. And just in the last few years, I've gotten to a point where I just felt like I had more to offer. And had a lot of people asking me, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? So I've got the coaching bug and always had that kind of in sport and in business, and decided to, at the beginning of 2023, start Summit Coaching and Consulting, and started out primarily coaching contractors and just helping them out and coming from a place of service, and kind of expanded to being able to help business owners in whatever endeavor they're doing. So I'm having a blast with it. I go live on Facebook every morning. I have a podcast called the Summit Podcast. So I'm kind of doing all the things very similar to you, and I've enjoyed working with you recently. So yeah, I'm full gas over here. Sure.
You are, man. And I tell you what, I know you're on like day 144 of 365. I think I saw of
Yeah,
even days that we have partaked in probably hanging out for too late. You still showed up the next day, and that's there's a lot to be said with doing what you have to do when no one's looking, and
Right.
you could easily have a reason not to, and yet you still show up. So kudos to you. Let me ask you this. What would you say is one of the most pivotal decisions you have ever made that changed the direction of your life?
Pivotal decision I made to change the direction of my life.
Business, personal.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe back in it was 2000. I had a countertop business, and had made the decision to some business things happen, and I had to pivot, and I'm out in the garage kind of taking the decals off my truck with a hair dryer, and that wasn't a good day, and to refinance the house and pay off equipment and kind of start all over again. But I don't know that there was any one, maybe recently, getting away from the contracting business and just finally taking that last job and saying I'm gonna let go of the side of the pool and push off into this coaching and personal development world. And gone are the $75,000 and $100,000 deposit checks, right? That can kind of take care of a lot of things. And now we talk monthly recurring revenue. Now we talk, cold DMs and cold calling people. That's a different game altogether. So I've had to reinvent myself. And I guess the overarching theme, Steve, is that I was never afraid to make a change when it needed to happen. I've done it. I've never been afraid to bet on myself, and I've had to a few times, kind of gone off in the wrong direction and kind of pull it back onto the road, and it's how I got where I'm at today.
So with that being said, I think everybody, I don't care who you are, what you do, we've all had defining moments in our lives. We can call them like high stake moment where you had to make a decision because everything was on the line, right?
Yeah.
And listen, you're an athlete, you've done triathlons, so I'm not just talking business, it could be personal, but can you take us back to one of those defining moments where you, like, everything was on the line? You're like, fuck, I got to go left or right. There's no going straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything come to mind with that?
Yeah, it was probably, I got divorced in 2017, and that was a big, it's always for anybody that's been through that, it's not what you want to go through. And I just decided at that point I was going to, that every decision I made going forward, my daughter was just finishing high school, and I was just going to make it with the best interests of her in mind. And I think if you come from that place, because that's what I signed up for, and you see how I start my talks, I say, I'm Bailey's dad. And I'm nothing else if I'm not that. And I know you can appreciate that. But it was at that time where I either needed to go full force in contracting, go make some money, go take care of business, or just fold it up and go work for somebody. And I decided to just go forward with it, ultimately getting out of it down the road. And that's really probably been the next biggest moment, and it wasn't made hastily or because I was backed into a corner, but it was a time where, like, it was in late 2022 where the coaching bug was bubbling. People were asking me to coach them. And I said, I am not going into 2023 without hanging a shingle, so to speak, and saying, here I am, let's go and let's do it. And I really thought I was going to be done with contracting at the end of 2023. And ultimately it was the end of 2024 because, well, you need to eat while you create a business. So those are a couple of the moments. And what really sits hard with me is that day I was peeling letters off my truck and having to pivot, drive down through what's a small town that I live in and feel like a failure, knowing that I had so much more to give and that was just going to be a matter of time and I'd be back.
So when it comes to like taking risks, right? Financial risks, would you say that was probably the biggest risk you've taken, or have you taken bigger ones? And whatever the biggest one was, looking back, would you do it exactly the same again? Or has some experience changed maybe some perspective?
I would say just really shoving off, letting go of the side of the pool right now recently has really been it, because I'm at a point in my life where I have the most to lose. I'm 55, have a few things, right? And you're going to say, well, we're just going to shut off that source of income and go over here and try to get this one going very quickly. What I do have the benefit of is like I said, being 55, having the business knowledge, having made the mistakes, having paid to get rid of a lot of things and learn a lot of things the hard way. So looking back, like right now, today, I'm excited as shit to get out of bed. I am, you know me, you spend time with me. I am fired up. I'm not somebody you want to be around and say, well, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't know if I can do that, because I'm going to get up in your business about it. But I really feel like for the first time in my life, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I'm proud of myself that I've gone all in and taken a chance on myself.
So being 55, very experienced as an entrepreneur, as a contractor, and I think we all have this false belief about money, right? We kind of, a lot of times we idolize, we're afraid of money. We give it so much power, so much control. We fear it. We want it. We respect it. It's such a weird relationship that a lot of us, and I think, listen, I grew up in a blue collar home, and you want something, you got to work for it mentality, and money doesn't grow on trees, and all the things that we probably all heard. Going back to, if there's a young kid watching this about to open his own shop, any false beliefs about money that now you sit there and go, man, why did I waste so much freaking time worried about this or focusing on this or doing that you would tell this young guy, dude, don't do it?
Yeah. It brings me back to being 16 when my dad and I were trying to figure out a way to make a few bucks in the summer while I played sports. And I just started a lawn mowing business and learned a shit ton about business, just, having to meet people, having to drive into somebody's driveway, having to have a tough conversation when maybe we didn't do super well on the job. And I would say that I think our beliefs about money come from our programming, like where we grew up, right?
Sure.
Like you said, you want something hot, and it was like, hey, go out and earn it. You're going to work for it. It doesn't grow on trees. But I think you have to be careful, because sometimes you end up with this belief in life that I'm only going to get so high. Like I don't know anyone aside from an uncle in my family that's a millionaire. And so that, I think, can weigh on you and say, well, we only deserve so much money. And you always deserve a seat at the table. And like I've said to you, like, what's your biggest goal? I want to 10x the monthly recurring revenue ASAP. Why can't I do that? Other people have done it, and so just, I guess I would say that you deserve a seat at the table. If you're a young guy and you're thinking about starting, there isn't any room you don't belong in. If you have the courage to walk into it, just go and sit down and start asking questions and get involved. I wish I had business coaching and personal development stuff, or I wish I'd done it. It was probably available. I just never knew what it was all about back then.
Yeah. So with you in the business, like, was there a defining moment that you like, let me rephrase the question. Like, many times we're running away from something we don't want, or we're running towards something that we want, meaning that's it. I freaking hate contracting. I am done. Or, man, I really want this life.
Yeah.
Were you at the point that you were done, or were you at the point that you wanted? You know what I mean?
Honestly, Steve, both. Really, I had just a steady diet of the plumber's not showing up today. The electrician said this to the homeowner. This person wrecked this material, and I've got to replace it. So many things that came at me most recently, even, that really ran across the every thread of fabric. I like to be accountable. I like to have high character. I just got tired of apologizing to everyone. And the coaching business for me, I'm like, well, who am I going to be relying on? Me. Who do I need to bet on? Me. I know I'm going to show up every day for people, and I do. If you talk to people, they'll know, hey, if Bob's not 5 minutes early, he's late. And just operate from that standpoint. Sure. And at age 55, I'm like, I got another 8 or 10 years where I'm going to really want to be doing something, that I have to do. And why not do something that I enjoy? And I just feel like I have so much more to offer. I love to help people. The contracting business was something that I did because I got into it, and you kind of know how to do what you're doing. And then that morphs into something, and you ask yourself someday, you're like, do I even like this? Yeah. Am I good at it? 100%. Yep. Do a good job with it on my end. But do I really love it? And when I started thinking about what kind of legacy do I want to leave, and what do I want to leave behind? And I want to leave behind people that I've helped, not bathrooms I've remodeled.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Based on that, we all have days of doubt. We all have days of fear. We what would you say? What do you do when you have those days of doubt? Because we all have them, right? I mean, listen, we can be the most energetic person in the world, but there are days where, like, fuck, man, you know what?
Yeah.
Is this going to work? Like, should I keep going down this path, or is that a sign? I got 2 red lights in a row. Maybe that's a sign from God that I should quit, or whatever we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
What do you do when that creeps in?
A couple different things. The first thing I do typically is say, who needs to hear from me today? I'll reach out to somebody. I might check in with 3 of my clients. I might check in with somebody that has on the family that hasn't heard from me in a bit. The best way to help yourself is to help someone else, right? And the other thing I do, I grab my phone and I just start I start outreach, just following somebody on Instagram, checking in with somebody. Hey, I liked your page. I help contractors, all the stuff, right? I just go on the offensive. I call it straight savage mode, right? Because then I feel better. Now I'm not on the ropes taking punches. I'm coming off the ropes and fighting my way out of the corner. And you just go through it. And then lastly, I think I ask myself, and I do this with my clients. I say, hey, when you started your business, did you think that you weren't going to have a day just like today? Like, if I said to you, hey, it's okay, let's start the business, you're probably going to have a couple shitty days. Do you still want to do it? What would you say? Yeah, I would. Here's a shitty day. Let's get through it. Let's get it behind us.
So let me ask you this. Why do you hustle so hard? Like you could probably get by at about 40% of the amount of work that you do, right? I mean, listen, I think you're a high operator and I respect that because I'm the same, but you and I both, we could probably get by at about 50, 60% of our level. What makes you want to hustle so bad? Like, what is your why?
Well, we talked about that over the weekend, and I liken it. I'm always talking about what's your edge, and mine is the example that I am to others. That's what I always say is the example that I am to others. First and foremost, my daughter. I want her to be a hustler. I want her to know how to feed herself. I want her to be independent, taking care of herself. She's watching all the time. Other people are watching, and the other thing is that I'm going hard. This is a new business. I think it was you that told me if you change vehicles, you go back to zero. You remember that? You go back to zero. I didn't just jump from one train to another and now we go from, hey, doing a couple million in contracting to maybe we're doing 4 in coaching, right? You're starting at the beginning. So, and I probably overcompensate, but I don't want it to be said or to be able to know in my heart of hearts that I could have done more if someday it doesn't work out. I don't want to look back and go, man, you should have made those 20 POCs. You should have reached out to those guys. You should have followed up. You should have stayed up. You should have taken a Saturday and shot that video course, or made that reel or reached out to that person. So, and I just think that the harder that I work and the harder I work at putting myself in the right position, the better things happen.
Let me ask you this. You were talking about Bailey, your daughter. What legacy, like what do you want Bailey to say about you when you're not around?
I wish I had the paper. When she left, she was at the event. She came to hear me speak. I came back and it said, "Great job. I'm proud of you. I love you." There you go. I mean, isn't that what we all want? Is our kid to be proud of us? And I'm not a dad. Sometimes, of course, when I ask stupid questions, but I'm not a dad that's embarrassing her all the time. Her friends say, "Hey, I saw your dad's Instagram," or "Geez, your dad's doing this," or "Wow, he's doing that, this and that." And I know that, in her heart of hearts, that she knows I'm doing good things. And I'm also out trying to kick down walls and show her, see, you can do this. Whatever you set your mind to, you can do. And I've tried to be that example for her.
What legacy do you want to leave? Like what is the Bob Turner legacy? I got some good questions, huh?
You do, you really do. The Bob Turner legacy, service. Come from a place of service, and I talk about this a lot when I speak. Is just like that's where I lead from, and I know you do the same and I've seen you do this. If somebody needs a call, they're going to get it from you. I always advertise my 30-minute free strategy call, whatever. If you need me, here's my link. I dare you to jump on my schedule. So I want to leave a legacy of service, of coming from a place of service, and just showing people that it's not all about us all the time. The more we push out, the more we get back. And I'm not sure who said it. It might have been Zig Ziglar or Jim Rohn. The more people I help get what they want, the more I'll get what I want.
So as a business coach, 96% of all businesses will be out of business in 10 years, right? And that, with everything going on, that may be higher. I don't know.
Right.
I think a lot of people were in that, we'll call them COVID babies, during the COVID era, where they were just order takers. They didn't have to learn how to run a business.
Yeah.
They didn't have to learn sales. They just were basically, they would show up and they would make a ton of money, and they're like, this is easy. You and I, we've been around. We know that's not the case. So for the order takers out there and the COVID babies and all the people that are like, or the people that expanded their business because they think all of a sudden they became the smartest entrepreneur magically without doing anything different, and now it's not the case, how would you help them? Like, what would you tell them?
Just what I just told the last client as we wrapped up our last call. Things are going extremely well for him. I said, don't get out over your skis. It's awfully easy to look brilliant when the sales are coming in and you're just hitting it out of the park, and you beat that. Hey, the people went with you even though you were a little bit more expensive or they had to pay to go through the process. Don't get out over your skis. And I always ask them too, hey, things are going pretty great right now. What are we not seeing? What's coming down the track? What should we be focusing on that we might be getting a little bit lazy on. So keeping our chin up, looking down the track, hoping the light coming isn't a train, right?
Right,
Light
yeah.
at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: when you're coaching these people, if someone's watching this and they're a contractor or entrepreneur, what are some of the common issues that you see them having, and what is your quick pivot or your quick triage to stop that? You're like, man, everyone has this problem, and this is the reason why they have this problem. If you're going to give some advice before they get out over their skis.
Yeah, when on my calls, I check in on really, I call it the 4 pillars. We've got sales, leadership, systems, and mindset. And I think that cuts across just about everything that you're going to be dealing with in business. But to answer your question more specifically, cash flow is a big one. Cash flow, leadership is a big one. They may be a carpenter that got thrust into starting a business and didn't really know, they're just not a leadership guy, and they're having to learn that stuff. So, but the cash flow one, that's a tough one, because I've had guys, they're like, hey, I got 40 grand. I'm going to pay my truck off. I'm like, whoa. Time out. Let's walk that forward 3 or 4 months. Let's do a projection. Let's see what you have coming in. I'll take a look at their P&L, and I'll just get right up in their business about what is all this stuff in the expense column, in the overhead column, because there's more than one way to make more money, right? We can decrease expenses, we can increase revenue. So many of them, you're probably not surprised to know that they don't know what cost of goods sales means and how it affects gross profit, and being able to be a little bit analytical about the numbers and strategic. So I jump into that stuff. It's fun for me. I like looking at it, and I like the strategy of saying, hey, if we turn this dial down, we can turn these 2 up, right? So with regard to strategies for that, cash flow, and we talked about it this past week, what fixes everything? Money. Sales. Yeah, sales. Money takes care of a lot of things. I think it was you said, you can buy a lot of cool shit with it, right?
That's right.
But getting them dialed in on sales, and also making sure they don't take a break. Things get great, right? Hey, we're doing well. All of a sudden we're a genius. These jobs are just falling in. We're doing great, and they stop selling. And now we've got a golf ball that has to go through the garden hose somewhere down the line where they don't have revenue, and they're trying to figure out what happened. So I think I answered your question.
No, that's perfect. That was great. All right, so I'm asking you a couple questions. Just first thing that comes to mind, I just want to hear what they are.
Okay.
What would you say is your personal non-negotiable when it comes to being successful for Bob Turner?
My character and integrity.
Okay. All right. Why?
Because if you don't have that, I mean, I think, and I'm like you, I'm a guy you could probably plop down in any business and I could figure it out or help out or work there. But if you don't have character and integrity, people aren't going to want you. And it's like trust. It takes years to build it, a second to wreck it. So character and integrity for me.
Cool. So of the two, between losing time or losing money, which one would you pick?
Money.
Yeah. Because money's replaceable.
My godfather, who passed away a couple of years ago, would always say to me, "Hey, Bobby, it's only money. Get a whole bunch more next week." And I always remembered that. We would be just doing some playing cards or something. He would always say that, and I always remembered it. But we can't make more time. We're not making any more of it. So I would choose money.
1,000%. Give me one book that just changed your mindset forever. Besides your book that's right behind you.
Oh, funny you should know.
The book you wrote doesn't count, by the way.
I think I put it
selfless
in
plug.
Extreme ownership.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I was driving down the road, really frustrated with my business, and my coach at the time, I said, these guys doing this, these guys doing that. He goes, sounds like a leadership issue. And it pissed me off. And I was like, no, it's not a leadership issue. It was a leadership issue, because that was the time when I read that book, I realized that everything in my business, good or bad, comes back to me. And once I adopted that mindset, things changed. Things changed. Changed in a big way. Extreme Ownership by Jocko and Leif Babin.
Yeah. Fish stinks from the head down. You
Yeah,
gotta own your shit.
I enjoyed how they talked about a mission and what they did there, and then how they went in and applied it in somebody's boardroom. And it was just combat lesson, business lesson the whole way. So
totally. Okay. What is your current obsession, either business or personal? Like what are you obsessed with right now?
Just like you hear me say all the time, world domination. You knew I was going to say that. What are you doing? Wendy will say to me, "What are you up to on Saturday?" I'm like, world domination. And I say that in a joking way, but the mindset is that we're going for it. So I'm actually obsessed with getting this business to a point, and I'm close to being able to go, take a breath and do what you said, like maybe come off the gas just a little bit, right? But we're all in, and I'm just upset. Part of it is, Steve, is I'm having a freaking blast. Yeah. I'm having a ball, and it's just fun. I'm having a good time helping people, and there's some variety to it, so it's not getting stale. I can do a podcast, I can do a speaking engagement. I'm live in the morning, and then I've got my one-on-one coaching calls where I'm just diving in and helping people on a high level. So 100%.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Look, I think you're doing a great job. And sometimes you got to slow down to speed up, right? They say, slow is fast, fast is slow, and I think sometimes, yes, there's a time to hit the gas and get in seventh gear. And there's a time to grind the gears down and slow down and pay attention. So that's being an entrepreneur,
we're gonna do that. We're gonna hike a 4,000 footer on Saturday or Monday, or maybe even both. But what we like to do epic shit on the weekends, and that gets me away from the phone and all the stuff, and then we just have a good time with it and connect and have fun.
So one final question is, if you're not in a room and people are talking about you, what would scare you more? Saying that you were a failure or saying that you wasted your potential?
The latter. Wasted my potential. I'll fail. I've failed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't, they can say what they want, and I'm not for everybody, just like you.
Yep.
But we find the people that we are for, and I think there's a lot of people that if they were in that room would tell my story and be proud to say it. I
agree. Bob, if they want to get a hold of you, learn about your coaching, everything that you got going on, I mean, you got a Facebook group, you got a YouTube channel, you got everything. So just kind of throw up at the mouth of all the way they can get a hold of you, bud.
Yeah, easiest one is bobturnercoaching.com. That's the new website, and you can get a hold of me there. Fill out a questionnaire. I offer a free 30-minute strategy call where I always say to somebody, I bet I can find something with you or your business that can have you walking away from the call feeling good. I'm Bob Turner on Facebook, Bob Turner 21 on Instagram. That'll get you close enough to me so you can find me.
Yeah, and for those of you that are watching, this guy's doing it. He was a contractor. He speaks the language. He walks the walk. He's the real deal. Good personal friend of mine. He's a coach, and definitely he would be the guy that I would talk to learn more about how to get the edge, how to get past that limit. He wrote a book on it. An athlete as well. Yep, there's a book. I mean, look, these, when you start realizing a lot of people like us, we hang around like-minded people for a reason. They energize me, I energize them. Iron sharpens iron, and so sometimes we gotta remember that. We gotta think about that. So if you or someone that's listening, that's you're in survival mode and you're not sure which way to go, whether it's contacting me, contacting Bob, contacting everyone, contact somebody is my point, is that as an entrepreneur, we are on an island. And sometimes it's hard to get people to talk to that can relate without judgment and just to give you advice. I think that many, many times we have people taking withdrawals out of our lives, and sometimes we need somebody to make a deposit. And that deposit is someone like me, someone like Bob, other people out there making a deposit in your life to be a better version of yourself. And, sometimes it's that conversation that we all need. So if you need it and you feel that that's necessary, share this podcast with someone, like it, subscribe to it. I would appreciate it. And the last thing I'll say is ask yourself, who do you want to be remembered as? So you are going to be remembered as something. My question is who is that person? Because only you can answer it. Only you know. But if you want to be someone that makes a difference instead of just making money, ask that question, and I bet you'll get an answer that you may like, or if you don't like it, probably is an opportune time to actually make that decision to change it. So, I believe every day you wake up, you have a decision to make, and that decision is you are going to be better or you are going to be worse than the day before, and you get to decide. So, on behalf of Bob Turner, myself, Steve Rozenberg, thank you for watching High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.